And finally, the alleged gunman of the Bondi Beach shooting in Australia has appeared via video link at a magistrate's court in Sydney. Naveed Akram faces 59 charges over the massacre at a Jewish celebration, but is yet to take a plea. The BBC's Kathy Watson reports from Sydney.
This is the first time that Naveed Akram has been seen and has spoken since the attack at Bondi Beach in December. Wearing a green prison jumper, he appeared via video link from the maximum security prison where he's being held. It was a brief appearance. He confirmed he'd heard a discussion about extending reporting restrictions around the identity of survivors. In all, Naveed Akram is charged with 59 offences, including 15 counts of murder and an act of terrorism. Naveed Akram's lawyer told the media outside court that it was too early to say what plea his client would be entering. Naveed Akram is next due in court in April.
Recapping the top story, the ANC in Gauteng says it still wants to work with the EFF in all municipalities within the province. Earlier this month, the EFF leader, Julius Malema, said his party would end cooperation agreements with the ANC in Gauteng. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide.
For 90 years, one voice has informed, challenged, and connected a nation. SAFM, South Africa's national English public radio station. Established in 1936 as the SABC's very first service, the A program evolving through the English service, Radio South Africa to SAFM in 1995, shaping thought and strengthening democracy. From a full-spectrum station to a trusted home of news and talk, SAFM continues to lead the conversations 90 years strong. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
The Talking Point with Kathy Motlatlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
Sankara, 33. Claudette Colvin, 15. Nelson Mandela, 26. Queen Nzinga of Ndongo, 38. Kwame Nkrumah, 21. These are the names of some of my personal heroes of African descent. Heroes who at these very young ages embarked on their incredible journeys of change-making. Despite the assurance of risk to life, to security, to comfort, these young men and women harnessed their fears and stepped into the gap to create the future that they preferred. We know from their stories that they could have run away in search of easier realities somewhere else. But instead, these heroes searched for something else. They searched for courage. Africa does not, in fact, have a leadership crisis. To say so would be to assert, against historical evidence, that it is ever the older leader who is the protagonist of change. He or she seldom is. Accumulated self-interest, ties to promises long made, a lack of energy, make it very difficult for the older leader to be the change maker. No, our issue is not a crisis of leadership. What Africa is actually suffering from is a lack of a critical mass of courageous youth.
It's 9 after 9 o'clock. A very warm welcome to you. Welcome to the Talking Point. My name is Kathy Motlatlana, and I'll be with you until midday as we lead conversations that move us. That was Rachel Nyaradzo Adams, who is a founder and lead practitioner at Narashi Leadership, opening the show up for us with that clip as we get started with the day. Yeah. What a week it has been. It's great to be back in the studio with you. I was doing some gallivanting last week. The team is just being silly here behind the scenes. Yeah. I did some gallivanting last week, and I just got back actually from Ethiopia last night, where the AU 2026 summit was taking place. And it was great to be part of the conversations that were happening, and really just to get a sense of where are we going, Africa as a continent? Where are we going? Where are we going? Do we know what we want to do? Are we clear about how we want to do it? The one thing that really has stood out for me is the fact that our position as South Africa, at least within a global and a continental framework, is something that we need to continue to take advantage of and leverage off. In all of these changing dynamics, right, we should ensure that we are putting ourselves out there as much as we can. Because any opportunity of the future is not going to necessarily come to us. We have to do the work of going out there and finding where those opportunities might be. And that's true not only for from a government point of view, but it's true even for us as South Africans. We have to start doing the work, because the world is changing and things will move on with or without you. And I know that, of course, it was also a big week for us last week with the State of the Nation address taking place on Thursday evening. I did watch the SONA. And heard what the president had to say about, his plans, at least for the next 12 months or so, but also how it feeds into his presidency more broadly. And one would say, right, now is the time for action. We need action more than ever. There's a lot at stake, and we certainly need to get that sense coming through, not only from the presidency, but from all of government, that there is coherency, that everybody understands what is at stake for us as a country, for the people of this country, most importantly. So we'll get into the open line. I'll be taking your calls on 086 000 2032 is the number to dial. 086 000 2032. On the WhatsApp voice note line, 0614 104 107. And on X, it's at SFM Radio. The hashtag there, SFM Talking Point. So it continues to be... Is the word explosive even the appropriate word to describe the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry? I mean, my word. Some of the evidence that is coming out of that really continues to be jaw-dropping. But we must emphasize that while Madlanga is continuing, right, and these truths are being uncovered, there is still a reality. And what is that reality? That life is going on. Right? That we cannot be crippled by being so fixated on the things that are happening that have gone wrong, that we are unable to bring solutions, because life is still happening. Madlanga or no Madlanga, South Africa still needs solutions. So while Madlanga helps us understand the depth of the rot, what is the parallel action that is fixing what we are uncovering real time? So we'll take you to the Madlanga Commission at 9:30. And then, of course, we'll stay with it for the rest of the hour. And coming up during the break, so during the tea break at Madlanga, we are going to be in conversation with the Deputy Minister of Defense and Military Veterans, that is General Bantu Holomisa. You saw the announcement by President Cyril Ramaphosa in his SONA last week that the army will now be deployed to the Western Cape and to Gauteng to help the South African Police Service deal with crime and gangsterism. what exactly is that going to entail? It's a move that has been, welcomed by and large. But of course, there's rightfully a level of skepticism, right? And we can't shy away from these contradictions, that something can be positive, that it can be good, but at the same time might also bring up things that we need to wrestle with and contend with as a society. What does it mean to have the army helping the South African police service? What is the reality of that from a roles and responsibility and a functions point of view? What does it mean for ordinary South Africans, right? Having the army do the day-to-day work in support, one way or the other, of the SAPS. Are they going to be out in the street? Are our children going to see them? Let's contend with these matters. The fact that we have a crime crisis, an emergency, it's great that it's getting attention, but in the solutions that we are bringing, in the solutions that we're building, we must be careful not to create other problems. And that's the conversation we'll be having with General Bantu Holomisa, who will break down what the full implications of this decision then is. And then, of course, we will wrap it up back at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. Okay, I also see that since there have been increasing water problems in Johannesburg, it is a local government election year. So, hey, candidates left, right, and center are milking. They are milking this cow for all it's worth. Everybody's bringing forward their election messaging. They're launching their campaigns off of the crisis. But you know what I learned from ESCOM? Whenever there's a crisis, you must ask yourself who is benefiting. Remember when we were in the height of load shedding and ESCOM had to run the gas turbines and, billions and billions were being spent on what? On diesel. Lucrative diesel contracts. So, yes, it was a crisis, but there were those benefiting from the crisis. This water crisis, I see the crisis, and it's now a national emergency. I see all of that. But who's benefiting from this crisis? Who does this crisis serve? Who is this crisis working for? I'll take your calls. 086 000 2032 is the number to dial. On the WhatsApp voice note line, 0614 104 107. Looking forward to being in conversation with you. This is the National Roundtable.
Sanibonani dumelang absheni lochani Mzansi igama lam nguzanele untomdodwa izinhluzelza, but you can simply call me Uzanele Mthombeni. I am your new host, khona yi Ekaslami, the TV show that profiles some of your absolute faves, celebrities. I'm talking when an actor, musician, bona, politician, benekant zonke bonke zikhona, and we take them to Ekasi and find out who exactly they were before all the glitz, glam, lights, cameras, and action. Oh, baye uzi mutokolayo ulakamnandi.
Ekaslami, Tuesday at 6 on SABC 1. Mzansi for sure.
As the nation seeks answers, SAFM brings you live, uninterrupted coverage of Parliament's ad hoc committee investigating allegations made by KwaZulu-Natal Provincial Commissioner, Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi. You can also stay up to date with the Judicial Commission of Inquiry into criminality, political interference, and corruption in the criminal justice system. Stay informed, stay connected. Tune in live on SAFM 104 to 107 and follow the coverage across our digital platforms live on Facebook, X, and YouTube at SAFM Radio. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
If you love music in beautiful spaces, Symphony by the Water is one to diarize. It takes place at Midday Dam on Saturday, the 7th of March, 2026, featuring the KZN Philharmonic Orchestra with an incredible lineup of South African artists. Tickets are available now at Web Tickets, Pick and Pay, exhibition and stall spaces are now available at 600 Rand. And for more info, you can follow at Symphony Waters on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok.
Welcome to it. This is season 1 of Playlist happening right here at Maloka, and believe me, it's a party.
Set your reminder every Friday, 9 p.m. Playlist at Maloka is in the building.
Sanibonani dumelang absheni lochani Mzansi igama lam nguzanele untomdodwa izintluzelza, but you can simply call me Uzanele Mthombeni. I am your new host, khona yi Ekaslami, the TV show that profiles some of your absolute faves, celebrities. I'm talking wena actor, musician, bona, politician, benekanti zonke bonke zikhona, and we take them to Ekasi and find out who exactly they were before all the glitz, glam, lights, cameras, and action. Oh, bye, Uzi. Uzi, umutokulayo, ulakamnani.
Ikaslami, Tuesday at 6 on SABC 1. Mzansi for sure.
Wherever you are in the world, SAFM 104 to 107 is accessible. We're also streaming live on Facebook, X, and YouTube at SAFM Radio. We acknowledge and appreciate everyone tuning in and watching our streams. Stay with SAFM 104 to 107 as we bring you commission live, breaking stories, and thought-provoking lectures. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
People think that if there is no water, ourselves, our families, we've got special water. We don't. And in some instances, I had to go to a certain hotel so that I have to go to my commitments.
Call us on 086 000 2032.
Ooh, soft life, soft life, soft life. Yeah, that continues to be, is it a gift, an election gift that will continue to give until after the local government elections? I saw the statement that he issued trying to explain what he meant. I thought, it's better that you should have just let it go. Just let it be. The damage is done. Sometimes you must acknowledge the damage is done and just take it all in and have a true moment of reflection. Because that statement seemed to only fuel the fire that people were feeling about it. But it's because there is the sense of disassociation, disconnectedness, right? Simpiwe, you're in Freedom Park. Good morning. Good morning, Simpiwe.
Yes, I'm on the line.
You are on the line, Simpiwe. Welcome to the show.
All right, Mama.
Yes, Simpiwe.
Okay, I'm on the line. Can I speak?
Simpiwe, you are already speaking on the line. What do you want to say?
All right. Can I start talking about my president, Mr. Jacob Zuma? Mr. President, my name is Simpiwe. I'm staying in Soweto. But what you are doing to Umkhonto Wesizwe, you are confusing us. Because as people who left the ANC, like I'm a Cossack guy, I'm from the same Cape. I joined a party. People were criticizing me, saying, hey, what you want to do, what. I said, I'm joining this guy because I like the way he is leading. But what you are doing now, you telling us that you are in the ANC, you're still fighting for a membership. But we don't know. You are confusing us now. What you are doing? Can you come out and tell us what you are doing? Because you have left the ANC and forming congress. You join your party. Now we don't like these people, the ANC. We don't like the ANC. But what are you doing, President? We're going to leave the own conversations and now we don't know what to do anymore. Because now we are telling us we are in the ANC. Can you come out and tell us what we are doing exactly politically? The people are putting their members, their mayors, like in Johannesburg, Mashaba is there now, Helen Zille is there. You are just confusing us into one conversation. What you are doing, President?
So with confusion that you're experiencing as a member of yes, I'm asking you the confusion
yeah, we don't like what this president is doing, man.
Okay.
Now, we have left the AC, we don't like the AC. Like myself, I don't like anything yellow, like with the AC.
Okay. All right, Simpiwe, let's leave it there. The connections to Simpiwe is not great. I would have really liked to engage him a bit further, but I think his message was clear, right? You're confusing us as members of the party. What must we do? What if there are also other members that want to go and fight for their membership of the ANC as well? But vote Mkhonto weSizwe. Yo, this is the tripartite alliance drama all over again. Dual membership, SACP, ANC, MKA. David, you're in Zanin. Good morning.
Good morning, Casey.
Yes, sir.
Good morning, Casey. Yes, Casey, thanks for taking my call. I want to comment about the deployment of the SANDF soldiers, especially in the Western Cape. Casey, I think that is not a solution because I believe it's a temporary solution. Reason being that actually we need to identify what are the causes of a person or a youngster being a member of a gangster. Because I believe deploying the SNDF in the Western Cape really it's a temporary solution, because if we try to establish why a 12-year-old ends up being a member of a gangster, and I believe that it's got to do with the social upbringing of that individual or the environment. I believe we are not going to solve the problem by deploying the soldiers at these gang-infested areas.
David,
that's
what
my take.
You know, what you're saying speaks to something that I believe we fall victim to so often as a country. It's almost like we don't have the appetite or the capacity to do the hard work of really solving problems at their root. And so the deployment of the army in some ways is an acknowledgement that the solutions that are supposed to lead to sustainability and long-term transformation, that those have, there's no appetite to actually make those work, which is why we deal with the symptom. We're not dealing with this at the root of it, right?
Yes. We are not dealing with the root cause of this gangsterism, actually, Casey, because we are dealing with the symptoms.
Okay.
It's actually a temporary measure, and I believe we are not going to get it right.
Yeah. All right, David, let's leave it there. Yeah, it's like putting Band-Aid. You just put Band-Aid on the wound. Makes you feel better for a little bit. But where does the true healing come in? You need to go inside. You need to dig out the stuff that is painful, that is difficult to deal with. But where is our capacity to do that work as a nation? Matumi, you're in Kabeha. Good morning.
I and
Yes.
welcome back.
Thank you.
And I was going to go work at of this e-hailing of this guy that got killed for no reason because he was an e-hailing driver, and our government was pushing in a regulation that says e-hailing cars need to be branded. we've been fighting for regulation in this industry for the longest of time, and now regulation comes, but then the regulation is going to come at our expense. Imagine drivers are being killed, robbed, when cars are not branded. What's going to happen now when each and every car is branded as an Uber or Bolt or whichever e-hailing company are going to use? It's as if the people who are making the laws, for lack of a better word, like they only think, but and there is nowhere else that they see. And it's actually sad that we speak of this industry not being safe. The passengers say it's not safe. But then we, the drivers, we are so scared because every time I pick up somebody, I'm only suspicious. And yeah, it is the nature of the industry, but then our government could have handled it better with the regulation.
Yeah, okay. Madume, thanks for bringing that forward. And, the visuals of that killing, sends chills down one's spine. I don't know about you, but I can't even watch these videos anymore, hey? People killing others, and because it kills something on the inside of you. You become desensitized to that imagery. And I feel we do it so easily as a country, hey? Just sharing, posting, reposting. Oh, absolutely horrific. All right, it's time for the latest news headlines, and then we go straight to the Madlanga Commission.
Good morning. In the headlines, Gauteng e-hailing drivers from platforms such as Uber, Bolt and InDrive are set to protest outside the Pretoria Magistrates Court. This is ahead of 3 suspects due to appear in court in connection with the brutal murder of an e-hailing driver in Pretoria West. They face charges of hijacking and murder. Limpopo police have confirmed the discovery of a body in the Nandoni Dam outside Thohoyandou. Police spokesperson Hlulani Mashaba says the deceased was an occupant in a bakkie that was swept away while crossing an overflowing low-lying bridge near Thohoyandou during the flooding last month. And the ANC in Gauteng says it still wants to work with the EFF in all municipalities within the province. Earlier this month, the EFF leader Julius Malema said his party would end cooperation agreements with the ANC in Gauteng. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
You are listening to The Full Circle,
a space where generations come together in conversation that seek to spark curiosity, inspire innovation, and feed the curious mind. For arts, culture, and robust conversations, join me every weekday between 1 and 3 p.m. on The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga as we explore the stories, lessons, and conversations that guide us back to self.
This is Dula Sizwe Simelane on The Morning Brief.
Just your overall impressions of how far along we went in getting answers to some of the questions you have on day one of Paul O'Sullivan's appearance before your committee.
The best bet yesterday when I said to him, is there anyone that can vouch for this? Is there anyone that can tell us more about your time? He couldn't actually tell us about that. But I guess that's where it all started. It started with him being a reservist in SAPS, and that's where he got his fingers into the cookie jar and things just got completely out of hand. 1 minute he's got a degree, next minute he doesn't have any formal qualification, so I'm not sure where we're at. I specifically asked him yesterday, do you have any degrees, do you have any qualifications? And he said no. And 5 minutes later, the same question was posed to him and he said yes.
Geraldine James is Action SA.
Big stories of the day on The Morning Brief.
The Talking Point with Kathy Motlatlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
All right, we continue the conversation on the talking point. Normally at this time we would be taking you to the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry, but there has been a bit of a change this morning with regard to Witness F, who was set to continue giving his evidence today. It has resulted in an adjournment and a postponement to later on this week. I will play you what happened during that 4 or 5 minutes exchange that took place when commissioners did sit just in the short while. And so what we'll do is that we'll continue with the open line. I will still take your calls. The number to dial this morning, 086 000 2032. That's 086 000 2032. On the WhatsApp voice note line, 0614 104 107. So we'll continue with the open line then this morning. As we get ready to do that, let's listen to what unfolded at the Commission of Inquiry just a couple of minutes ago.
Good morning, Mr. Chaskelson. Good morning, Mr.
Good morning, Chair.
Sorry. Oh,
God. Chair and Commissioners, Witness F has been hospitalized and is not available today. There is an application for postponement. The medical certificate on the last page of that application, Annex I-2, records that Witness F will not be available at least until 25th February. We have looked at our calendar, and the earliest available date that we have after 25th February would be 16th March. Now, as things stand, 16th March is the last day of the Commission, but it is the best that we can do at this stage. So we would ask for the appearance of Witness F. Well, Witness F is asking for a postponement, an open-ended postponement. We would ask for that postponement to be pegged to 16 March.
Thank you, Mr. Chaskelson. Mr. Mato, do you wish to say anything? Are you agreeable to a postponement to the 16th?
Indeed, Commissioner, we are, given the circumstances that's been alluded by my learned colleague.
Thank you. The hearing of the testimony of Witness F is postponed to 16 March 2026 at 9:30 in the morning. That's adjourned.
Thank
we
you.
Resume on. We have nothing for tomorrow. Then
We had Witness F scheduled for today and tomorrow.
And tomorrow, yes. So we resume at 9:30 on Wednesday. Then. Yes, that's adjourn and resume at 9:30 on Wednesday.
All right, so that then is how things unfolded this morning at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. Not the first time that Witness F is having these health issues. You'd remember the last time the Madlanga Commission had to adjourn to give him an opportunity to go to the doctor due to ill health. And now it seems that, he has been hospitalized, and the Commission then says they will hear his evidence at a later time. I wonder what you make of that. Of course, things ended off on quite a high last week in as far as some of the evidence that he had been giving before the Commission. So we'll continue with the open line. The number to dial this morning, 086 000 2032. That's 086 000 2032. On the WhatsApp voice note line, 0614 104 107.
SAFM has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. Under the code, we are committed to giving news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that is not harmful, does not amount to hate speech, or contain violence or explicit sex. If you think we are not living up to that code, then you can inform the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. Direct any complaints in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. PO Box 142365. Craig Hall 2024. Fax to 011-326-3198 or an email to bccsa@nabsa.co.za. For more information, please visit www.bccsa.co.za. Let's have the conversation. WhatsApp voice notes on 0614 104 107.
Gore. Kathy, sometimes they say people who take things slow, they take their time, they assess and evaluate, process things well, and speak later are very good. Quiet and slow people sometimes. Hey, Banyaza, it's like you talk first and think later. No, sometimes talking too much, you end up making silly mistakes, exposing yourself. Sometimes you speak a lot trying to show that you are a critical thinker, you are big brain, big mind, and then it end up showing the opposite.
Kathy Anno from Kukombo. The people who are benefiting are the people who's got trucks of water tankers. So obvious there are tenders that are going around for that. Some of those things they are being done maliciously so that those people can get those tenders. Thank you, Kathy.
Morning, Kathy and the listeners. Kathy, there's SONA last week. President Ramaphosa was campaigning. He has been backed so many times to send the soldiers. He did not. The water crisis has been going on all along. All of a sudden, he's giving a big budget. So that was campaigning, nothing else but campaigning. Anonymous.
Kathy, good morning. General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi continues to be the blue-eyed boy. After it was announced that the army will be deployed to different parts of the country, I saw a clip of him addressing the SAPS in KwaZulu-Natal, telling them that they will do their job, that they will not need the army. So I think that it should send a message to the other commissioners throughout the country to say that, you know what, if you motivate yourself hard enough, perhaps there won't be a need for the army. It's just my take on it. Thank you.
Good day, Kathy. Are you well? Kathy, tell me, you recall the first fight, argument, conflict between the EFF and ANC, where it came to such an extent the ANC ran to the EFF and just pampered their little puppy, and they listened. And now it's the second time, and guess what? The ANC is doing the same, and I wonder, or should I even ask you what the ultimacy will be? Pepilon Aldos.
Hashtag SAFM Talking Point.
Well, let's continue getting your views on the open line. Lowered, you're in Alberton this morning. Hello.
Yes, Kathy.
Yes, sir.
There's an English saying which goes like, in the multitude of ways, sin is not lacking. Close quote. I'm referring to what Comrade Panyaza has just said a week last. But I don't want to talk about that, my sister. Quickly, let me take a snap view of the President's SONA message last Thursday. But I'll take only one aspect of it, which is the failure or challenges confronting our municipalities. You know, I've been based in the Ekurhuleni or city of Ekurhuleni for almost 2 decades, 18 years to be precise. This city, it has been sort of what can I say? It's an economic hub in the province of Gauteng due to its industrialization. But I have observed over a period of time that there's a glaring regression when it comes to service delivery. And I never heard the president indicating a clear-cut with a bold master plan that will seek to deal with the municipalities, especially their lackadaisical attitude in terms of dispensing service delivery to the citizens of the communities around here. So, comparatively, Casey, the political leadership, since the departure of Comrade Mzwandile Masina, those who followed him, I think they have contributed to the regression of the city. There's overgrown of grass all over the city. The streets, the inner city streets or the inner township streets are a mess. So I'm not sure whether the plans which have been put forward by the president are going to revive our municipalities, especially the metros. I know that we have got our local municipalities, district municipalities and the likes. But if the metros are failing to do the right thing, where I am, I become so discontent. But hopefully, the plan that is going to be implemented is going to do something to the betterment of our municipalities. That's what I wanted to say this morning, Casey.
All right. Thanks for that contribution, Loward. Xolani, you're in the Eastern Cape. Good morning.
Hi, Kathy. Good morning. Kathy, I think we as society, that is the public, we need to do lots of introspection going forward. We tend to react a lot. Like now, it's election times. In the Eastern Cape, I'm seeing quite a lot of protest people, like literally damaging the road, and especially the national road, for what is the right thing in terms of what they don't get, but in how they are reacting. They are reacting by destroying the infrastructure that needs to help us in terms of transportation and all that. Then there will be those who will try to justify the wrong by saying that the current government, the only way it knows is when someone goes and damage and do something wrong. And yet we forget that we are responsible. We tend to react because we don't know the needs versus the wants. Until we educate ourselves on the things we need versus the things that are wanted, then we will be able to see change going forward in South Africa. We are our own enemies as societies by destroying the things that are supposed to be helping us.
We absolutely need a mindset change, Xolani. And I don't know if you were watching the protests that were taking place in Johannesburg, right? As a result of the water crisis. And it's always interesting to observe how different communities protest. So if you look at the protests that took place in the Midrand area, this is just over the same issues, right? Over water. And then you look at the protests that took place in your Melville, your Parktown areas. There's a completely different psychology and approach to protesting, and yet all of these people are South Africans. And I wonder if there are lessons, Xolani, that we think we can be learning from each other about what impact truly looks like.
I think if we need to be honest with ourselves, we need to check. We do not like one another for reasons I cannot explain in public at this moment. Until then we have a common problem. Then we think that we like each other, and then we just now appear, because communities tend to only appear when there is elections that we don't have the same common problem they've been having for the last 5 years. And then they go and destroy. And then when someone comes and make promises, and then they believe a promise, and also believe excuses for those things that they need or want, and then when they don't happen, we find ourselves angry again, and then we start protesting, like you said, and we do it in different phases. But I like what you said, because the guys that were striking, needing water, the focus was on the strike, on the need, but not on the infrastructure. But in certain areas within the same country, infrastructure is damaged. It doesn't make sense until we change our mentality.
Xolani, thanks for that. And what do we see as yielding results, right? What do we see as yielding result? It doesn't help. Yes, you need water supply, but breaking the pipe that already is part of the problem does not help the issue. Because tomorrow, guess what? When the conversations around budget, they begin with how do we solve this pipe. Now you've added to the problem list that that government needs to attend to. We can't cut our noses to spite our faces. So I think it's an important issue that that you're raising in the Eastern Cape this morning, Xolani. Bonakele, you in Cape Town. Good morning.
Hi, Kathy.
Yes, sir.
How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Good. Look, I want to talk about Utatu Zuma, no? The fact that he doesn't want to accept that he's been fired by the ANC. That's something that I really interested to know. Is he trying to confuse himself, or is he confusing South Africans, or what is going on, or trying to confuse everyone that he's still, I mean, he's no longer the member of the ANC, he's been fired. Why he can't accept that? I actually want you one day, if you can invite someone, this political analyst, you can probably clarify or explain as to what is he up to, because that's something that I don't really understand with him. Because once you are fired, especially he's not the first person to be fired by the ANC, and bearing in mind, for him personally, he formed a party who happens to be the opposition party to the ANC. So all in all, that's a confusion that I really want someone to explain or clarify. What is it that is he up to? That he cannot accept that he's no longer the member of the ANC, irrespective he served the ANC for too long. You understand my point?
You know, Bonakele, at the height of the state capture allegations, and of course the move then to get rid of the then president of the ANC, Jacob Zuma. I remember a headline, and it went along the lines of the ANC's Zuma headache. I've never forgotten that headline, and it still rings so true today, doesn't it? That he's been a headache for this organization for such a long time, and regardless of how much things have changed, he continues. He continues to be a headache. I don't know how to get rid of it.
I can understand why you're laughing. I'm also laughing as well. And in fact, most of the people are probably asking. That's why I'm really asking myself questions as to, is he confusing himself or confusing South Africans, or that perhaps ANC still loves him, or the ANC still needs him? I'm forming a party, yes.
It's complicated. It's very complicated.
No, but this old man, I mean, his family must advise him to give up, you understand? I think Tatu Zuma is now almost 83 or 84. 42, he's 84,
yes,
of course.
it's round about there, somewhere there.
Absolutely, yeah. No,
Okay.
man, he must stop doing this.
Okay,
Thanks, have a nice
Bonakele,
one.
let's
Great,
leave it
bye-bye.
there. Yeah. Sometimes I think, President Zuma sits and he's like, it's too quiet. Why are they forgetting about me? I must just come back. Becky, you're in Benoni. Good morning.
Good morning, Sis Kathy. I am thanking you very much for taking my call. I thoroughly enjoy listening to your shows, and recently you have started putting commentary, which some people would say sometimes you rant about issues, which I really find very useful. This morning you made a very brief comment about you being in Addis Ababa. And I was looking forward to listening to you being far much more comprehensive about it. And your comment about saying, where are we going as the African continent? It gave me some pessimism, but I'm just requesting that once you have settled in another day or two, give us a fuller commentary, because in what you gave to us, it was a teaser, but it is devoid of your usual commentary, which is far much more fuller. Please.
Okay, Becky. Okay, I see what you did there. You're calling me out a little bit. That's fine, Becky. I'll do that. Okay, before the week is up, I'll consolidate that thinking and I'll share it with you. All right.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
All right. Biggie out in Benoni. He's calling me out, rightfully so. My plan was to do a bit of that this morning. Yeah, but I just got home so late last night that I thought I must give myself a bit more time to really clear up my thoughts. So I will do that. Thanks, Biggie. Bongile, you're calling us from Soweto. Good morning.
Morning, Sis Katie. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Thank you. Hey, Sis Katie, I have a gripe with this house that is divided and it is expecting to lead, especially in the political sector.
Bongile, if I paused you there, just based on that opening statement that you've made, I wouldn't know which house is falling apart politically, because that could apply to so many parties. Which house are you talking about, Becky?
I'm talking about the ANC, the factions. You can see when they speak that these people are from the same house, but they are not speaking the same language. And beside that, for me to add on that, also the ad hoc. The ad hoc is a policy making institution. Well, what I saw there, why am I linking these two together, is that, us as South Africans, we have mandated with our votes members of parliament to stand up for us, irrespective of which party it is. But when they start questioning the witnesses, where the common factor is that we want the truth, nothing but the truth, you see who's in which party, who partisan. So it's giving me a real headache. Now it comes to this party, how can I say, the house that is not together, because as South Africans, when we also hear, I'm putting bits and pieces to make something out of this. When I hear Jacob Zuma wanting to be again an ANC member, and this time the MK party is also standing for people to vote for it. So where are we as South Africa? Does anyone think about the mandate that, or the issues that needs to be dealt with from the voters? Because now everybody's about themselves. Yet they are all expecting us at the end of the day to vote. Who should we vote for and for what?
Bongile, do you not think that this becomes a precursor to 2027? Because there are those that have certainly opened the door to some form of coalition between the MK party and the ANC. We certainly saw it highlighted last year under the banner of the Progressive Caucus, where the so-called black parties were campaigning for a government of national unity that, what was led by the Progressive Caucus. Do you not think that this is a precursor to that?
But how does it help the voter? Because at the end of the day, when you go to the ballot, when we go to the elections and on the ballot, we see one face, and that is the face and the leader of the party that you choose. When they decide to do all this and they come through the media, do they ever think about the voter? Because the government has lost touch with the people. It's about the employees doing as they please, forgetting the mandate from the voters. That's my issue with all of these parties and all the people that have been elected.
Yeah, look, Bongile, I think that's why we as voters then also need to start wising up. Don't you think so?
Yes, but they forget about the people. They should at least, maybe, if I'm an MK party or ANC, I should have a light just to say when they come on media and say, at least I as one of their members should be they just go on media, boom. And how about the people who voted MK? Then they hear that Zuma wants to go to ANC again. What does it do to the person?
Okay, Bongile, you're in Soweto. Thanks for that contribution. You're reminding me of the words of Prof. Somato Tafikeni when he was still giving commentary of the political dynamics that unfold in our society. And he said, he speaks about an ANC and its children, and that as South Africans, we're still very much held ransom politically to the ANC, and that the ANC is still the majority party. It might not be ANC that people are voting for, but if you look at all of these factions that have come out of the ANC, and part of what he was saying was that we as the electorate also have to start being mindful of that, right? We can't be blind. We're not victims. We see these things unfold before our eyes. What does that tell us, and how does it ultimately affect how we make decisions about what we want the future of this country to be? It's gone 10 o'clock, time for a latest news update.
Thanks, Kathy. In our top stories, Madlanga Commission postponed to Wednesday, and ANC Gauteng still seeks EFF partnership despite Malema's utterances. Good morning. The Madlanga Commission has been postponed to Wednesday after witness F brought an application to appear before the inquiry later in the month. Witness F was expected to continue with his testimony today and tomorrow. Evidence leader, Advocate Matthew Chaskelson, told the Commission that witness F has been hospitalized until the 25th of February.
Witness F has been hospitalized and is not available today. There is an application for postponement. The medical certificate on the last page of that application, Annex I-2, records that witness F will not be available at least until 25th February. We have looked at our calendar, and the earliest available date that we have after 25th February would be 16th March.
Gauteng e-hailing drivers from platforms such as Uber, Bolt and InDrive are set to protest outside the Pretoria Magistrates Court today. 3 suspects are due to appear in court in connection with the brutal murder of an e-hailing driver in Pretoria West. They face charges of hijacking and murder. Police say the driver, a 22-year-old Nigerian national, was overpowered inside his vehicle after picking up a man and a woman who had requested the ride. The hijacked vehicle and the driver's body were later found in Atteridgeville on the same day. National E-Hailing Federation of South Africa's spokesperson, Taylor Masakale, has commended police for a swift response to the incident.
We strongly condemn the horrific murder. And what we have done as NESA is we've mobilized our members in Gauteng to attend the court hearing this morning, so that we can demand that the suspects be incarcerated. And we also welcome the swift action by SAPS.
2 people are expected to appear in the Oudtshoorn Magistrates Court in the Little Karoo today on attempted murder charges involving the assault of a child. Community activists have expressed outrage after a social media video depicting the alleged assault went viral. Police spokesperson Wesley Twigg says a 75-year-old man and a 52-year-old woman were arrested yesterday in connection with the incident.
An adult male and an adult female will appear in the Oudtshoorn Magistrates Court today following an alleged assault incident on Friday, 13 February 2026 on the corner of Van der Riet and Craig Streets, Oudtshoorn, involving a child. The circumstances surrounding the incident are under investigation.
The ANC in Gauteng says it still wants to work with the EFF in all municipalities within the province. Earlier this month, the EFF leader Julius Malema said his party would end cooperation agreements with the ANC in Gauteng. He accuses ANC chairperson Inekuruleni Nkosindipile Xhakaza of wanting to push the EFF out of its governance responsibilities in the metro. ANC Provincial Coordinator Hope Apu spoke on the sidelines of the ANC's Provincial Gauteng two-day Lekgotla in Johannesburg.
Still feel that we can cooperate with them because the EFF is not being kicked out of any municipality by the ANC. All our regions are part of the discussions, including our Portback. We've always been in touch with the EFF, including that time there was a problem between the PA and the EFF in Johannesburg. We discussed that with the EFF. The issue we're discussing with the EFF is about the number of MMCs in Spesam in Agurule.
And finally, relatives of people detained under the state of emergency in El Salvador have protested against the mass trials planned by the government of President Nayib Bukele. They fear many innocent people will be convicted without due process. The BBC's Warren Bull reports.
In March 2022, El Salvador's president, Nayib Bukele, declared a state of emergency in response to a surge in gang violence. In the ensuing crackdown, around 90,000 people have been arrested, often without a warrant. Since opening a vast supermax prison, the government has released images of hundreds of prisoners sitting in rows, hands behind their heads, which rights groups have criticised as dehumanising conditions. The protesters fear that under the crackdown, many innocent people could be convicted without due process. Hundreds of mass trials are due to begin in El Salvador in the next few months.
Recapping the top story, the Madlanga Commission has been postponed to Wednesday after witness F brought an application to appear before the inquiry later in the month. Witness F was expected to continue with his testimony today and tomorrow. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide.
Rafiq, a 40-year-old OUTsurance client, knows all about saving on car insurance.
OUTsurance, they're actually giving something back to you. Being with him, I've saved so much money. 899. That's not small change. It's more than 50% that I saved from my previous insurer.
An incredible 899 Rand monthly saving on Rafiq's 2017 Nissan Navara 4x4. Get a quote now. SMS out to 30754. 35-year-old Zanai saves 1,180 Rand a month on her 2017 Mercedes-Benz GLA. And the out bonus she'll get?
It is close to 6,500 Rand in 3 years if I'm claim-free.
Ready to get more out? SMS out to 30754. Enjoy benefits like panic assistance, which sends the nearest medical or armed response unit to you wherever you are. Get a quote now and see how much OUTsurance could save you. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Licensed insurer in FSP. TCs and information online.
Need your production executed professionally, on time, and within budget? SABC Technology delivers. From live broadcasts to pre-recorded and streamed content across all major platforms. We handle post-production, editing, audio final mix, and graphics, all with state-of-the-art technology. Looking for radio or television outside broadcasting or a fully equipped studio or auditorium to bring your big idea to life? We've got you covered. SABC Technology, your trusted service provider. Contact us today at bookings@sabcfacilities.co.za.
When you train for results, you don't quit halfway. Earn up to 7.35% interest with a Nedbank Just Invest account. Access your money within 24 hours. Keep your money agile. Get money fit with Nedbank. See money differently. Nedbank. For more information, visit nedbank.co.za. We're licensed FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
The Talking Point with Kathy Motlatlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
You're listening to The Talking Point. It is 9 after 10 o'clock. Welcome to the second hour of the show. Coming up within this hour, we of course are going to get back into, I would say, normal programming. The Madlanga Commission of Inquiry is out for today and tomorrow. It has been postponed after the hospitalization of witness F, at least according to his lawyers. They've put a statement saying that he has been hospitalized, so the Madlanga Commission then will resume its work on Wednesday. With that said, let's take a couple of your WhatsApp voice notes before we get into the rest of our show.
Let's have the conversation. WhatsApp voice notes on 0614 104 107.
One is Sisiketi, 16 March will arrive and will come. No matter what, the 16th of March will come. Now they are becoming sick. They never been sick when they went to collect the bags full of money. Jet skiing, hotels, hunting. Now they are sick now. They are sick now. 16th March is around the corner. No worry. Anonymous.
Good morning, Sis Kathy. Your witness F. Witness F is hiding something. Witness F is hiding something, Sis Kathy.
Good morning, Sis Kathy and SA listeners. This is Siseko Anthony Peter. Sis Kathy, the crime is too much in South Africa. People are not working. And there's no investors that are going to come to South Africa because of too much crime. Cyril Ramaphosa has failed long time ago to fight crime. Now, just because the elections for municipalities are near, now he's bringing the soldiers. It is a campaigning for the ANC because Helen Zille has proposed for the soldiers long time ago. Now we don't have a president here. This is a banana republic, straight.
Kathy, I think for the first time in a long time, the speech of the president last week, for me, is one of the best. Not because of what he said, but it's what he said compared to what is happening on the ground. You know, things like the rating agencies, upgrading us, and exiting the grey list, you know, the inflation, you know, all those are good indicators that can, in future, be a positive foundation to build upon. And you look at I'm more interested even in the mineral beneficiation strategies, which that's where my eyes are really on, because I think that's where we'll create more employment. Thank you. It's important for you.
Good morning, Sis Kathy. This is Agmatibula. Sis Kathy, when you play Panyaza Leshuvi saying, I even went to the hotel to bath, even me, because there's no water. And then I remember when Dada Morero says, no, we must get these other foreigners to be deployed as our police officers so that they will help with translations, because we're arresting criminals who doesn't even speak English and Zulu and whatsoever. You know, these people of ANC, they've lost the touch with us. But yeah, what can we do? These leaders of ANC, sometimes they no longer think for us in South African. Good morning, this is Agmatibula.
Good morning, sister. Actually, Zuma, he doesn't know where he's staying. He's just confusing himself and also his followers of MK Party. Actually, I strongly believe that even his followers at MK Party, they are now asking themselves some questions. Whether Zuma is good upstairs or is mentally disturbed. Anonymous from Tembisa.
As the nation seeks answers, SAFM brings you live, uninterrupted coverage of Parliament's ad hoc committee investigating allegations made by KwaZulu-Natal Provincial Commissioner, Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi. You can also stay up to date with the Judicial Commission of Inquiry into criminality, political interference, and corruption in the criminal justice system. Stay informed, stay connected. Tune in live on SAFM
104 to 107. And follow the coverage across our digital platforms, live on Facebook, X, and YouTube at SAFM Radio. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. Wherever you are in the world, SAFM 104 to 107 is accessible. We're also streaming live on Facebook, X, and YouTube at SAFM Radio. We acknowledge and appreciate everyone tuning in and watching our streams. Stay with SAFM 104 to 107 as we bring you Commission Live, breaking stories, and thought-provoking lectures. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. The Morning Brief.
What it led to the withdrawal of this critical service that services something in the region of 238,000 pupils across Gauteng.
The reason why we've withdrawn our services is because of non-payment. Service providers have had basically to carry government for over 16 months. As a consequence, people have to obtain funding, obtain loans, and the net impact of that, the accumulative loans and everything else has brought people to a point where they are now making a loss. They are not able to obtain further loans because banks are no longer trusting our people to be able to sustain those loans because every time we've got excuses, we cannot pay.
That's Paul Zikali, Gauteng School Bus Operators Council Secretary.
This is Dula Sizwe Simelane on The Morning Brief. For 90 years, one voice has informed, challenged, and connected a nation. SAFM, South Africa's national English public radio station. Established in 1936 as the SABC's very first service, the A program evolving through the English service, Radio South Africa to SAFM in 1995, shaping thought and strengthening democracy. From a full-spectrum station to a trusted home of news and talk, SAFM continues to lead the conversations 90 years strong. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
SAFM has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. Under the code, we are committed to giving news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that is not harmful, does not amount to hate speech, or contain violence or explicit sex. If you think we are not living up to that code, then you can inform the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. Direct any complaints in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. PO Box 142365, Craig Hall 2024. Fax to 011-326-3198 or an email to bccsa@nabsa.co.za. For more information, please visit www.bccsa.co.za.
You are listening to The Full Circle,
a space where generations come together in conversation that seek to spark curiosity, inspire innovation, and feed the curious mind. For arts, culture, and robust conversations, join me every weekday between 1 and 3 p.m. on The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga as we explore the stories, lessons, and conversations that guide us back to self.
Stay safe on the roads. SAFM is with you.
This is Dula Sizwe Simelane on The Morning Brief.
One of our listeners listening to this conversation is calling you out and saying Selby is being untruthful. The city takes on average 5 days to respond to reports of burst meter or pipes, and you need to be following up too many times for them to respond.
And Tula, that person is correct, because I, for one, get people who say to me, we have reported this matter 2 months ago, and once it is escalated to me, I give to my colleagues. Some of my colleagues even ignore me when I tell them this. And then I go directly to the mayor, and when the mayor tells them to do it, they do it. So yes, some of these problems are self-inflicted. Some communities do inform us of police, and we don't respond.
That's Selby Bukaba, spokesperson of the city of Tshwane there.
Big stories of the day on the Morning Brief.
The Talking Point with Kathy Motlatlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
All right, you're listening to the Talking Point 20 after 10 o'clock. One of the issues that we continue to contend with as a society is around declining trust in the public sector. And certainly at this particular moment, it is highlighted by one, the revelations coming out of the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. But I would also say that the fallout from the lack of services that ordinary South Africans are experiencing, the people that have been entrusted with rolling out services, have been entrusted with governance, are in the public sector. And we know that our government talks about having a batopele approach, a people-centric and centered model of government. Yet more and more, we're seeing this to not necessarily be the case. But how do we arrive here? What leads to the kind of brokenness in the system that we see? It's very easy, of course, for us to blame the people at the top. You can blame the president. You can blame ministers, right, and say they're not doing their jobs. But ultimately, it is also ordinary South Africans, you and I, that are put in these positions in the public sector. What are we not doing that we're supposed to be doing that is contributing to this problem? What do we need to change and fix there? That's the conversation we'll be having within the rest of the hour. Ruben Maleka is General Manager at the Public Servants Association. He joins us now. Ruben, good morning to you.
Good morning, Kathy. Good morning to the listeners of SAFM.
Sabelo Chalufu is the founder and director of the Better Governance Initiative. They are an independent, non-partisan civic organization working to strengthen democracy. Sabelo, good morning to you. All right, it looks like we've lost Sabelo on the line. We'll try and get him back up. But Ruben, I'm going to come and maybe begin this conversation with you. One of the things that is made very clear, and because we're in a local government year or election year, maybe I'll stick to the example of local government, where we have a system of governance that has been put in place, and within it have been embedded the accountability mechanisms and frameworks through which to ensure that whatever it is that needs to be done can be done, number one. Number two, that if it's not done, there are means and ways of bringing in accountability, etc., etc. And yet, despite all of that, from a policy point of view, legislative point of view, we continue to see failures. And this is precisely what is happening within the public sector as well, that there are these declining levels of trust because what has been the commitment of government to the people is not the reality of what is being delivered. How do you, as the Public Servants Association, whose members are the ones that are supposed to be carrying out these responsibilities and functions on a day-to-day basis, how do you reconcile yourself with the picture that we're sitting with today? And what do you define to be at the heart of the problem?
Thank you very much, Kathy, and for the opportunity. First of all, it's unfortunate to find the state of the public service to be where it is today. But there are solutions that could be employed, and there would be an immediate solutions that can take the public service forward. Firstly, the issue of professionalization of the public service. This is a very important and critical element of where we need to start to make the public service work. And once the public service works, then service delivery, as you point out, towards the local government elections would not be an issue. Why we're talking about professionalization of the public service, there must be a merit-based appointment of public servants. There must be relevant qualification. I'm emphasizing relevant qualification and experience for those who are appointed in the public service. We have seen out of Madlanga Commission that you ask a person who is leading a very big institution, what is your qualification? And this person only points to the issue of having a PhD. But we don't ask questions. PhD in what? I mean, you can't be heading an engineering institution with a PhD in communication. It's irrelevant. It's an irrelevant qualification. You need to head a legal department. You want to head people that are legally qualified in a professional environment where they must deal with court matters. But you come up with a, PhD in, let's say something that is very relevant. Let me not point to qualification. Something that is not even related to legal qualification. That is where the problem is. The merit-based appointments must be emphasized, must be implemented in the public service. Patronage is when people with no experience, people because of connectivity, and to some extent pointing out to the issue of cadre deployment, has the one that has wreaked the havoc in the public service. Second point is the vetting system. If before appointments, vetting could be done, because the Madlanga Commission was very clear that people that should have not been even passed the test of being in certain positions were appointed because the vetting was not there. Vetting must be done and must be done by professionals. Even if it's outsourced out of the public service, nobody must be appointed without being vetted in the public service. And from time to time, there must be national audits of all public servants to check their current status, because you can't be a public servant while in the meantime you are sitting along the way starting to be in a criminal activities, and there's not being pointed out that this person or there's a public servant is involved in criminal activities. National audits must be regularly conducted. Live audits that's something that we've been told by the Minister of Public Service Administration that 80% of senior managers have been done live audits. But that should not only stop with senior managers. Everyone that earns money as a public servant must undergo live audits. The third point that must be done for every public servant is that there must be an ethical state for public service, and we must be able to protect the whistleblowers, because what has happened to Babita Deokoran should never happen to anyone. So let's strengthen, and we are happy because during the State of Nation address by the president this year, he has emphasized that there would be a review and strengthening of the Whistleblower Act, and that is imminent. That is something that must be done. And we believe that these 3 points, Kathy, will take us forward as public servants.
Ruben, there's something a bit deeper that is happening based on what you've highlighted. When you're looking at professionalization and getting the people with the right skills and capabilities into the right jobs, and you talk about vetting that needs to take place, that their skills must align with their positions. Vetting does take place. And in spite of the vetting, they still get into those positions. And what we now also can have an appreciation for is that it's not just one person, right? It's not just the person who is sitting in legal who approves despite red flags, or in HR who approves. There seems to be collusion in the system around this lack of professionalism, this lack of ineptly capacitated people in these positions. And I just want to hear from you, Ruben. How do you explain that? because it is sometimes your very members, right, that are sitting on these committees that are making these decisions around employment every single day. The president is not in every organization, every state entity, hiring and firing people. That's not what's happening. So what is fundamentally wrong with how the system is structured today, that we can see these repetitive cycles of people that are not professional, people that are in way over their heads, being given these big positions? And it's something that I'd love you to reflect on as we continue with the show. For now, it's 10:30. We'll take the latest news headlines, and then we'll continue with our conversation. I see Sabelo Chalufu, the founder and director of the Better Governance Initiative, is also on the line. Let me hand you over to the news desk.
Thank you, Kathy. On the news headlines on SAFM, I'm Ondelambana, and a very good morning. Witness F will no longer appear before the Madlanga Commission due to ill health. Witness F has previously linked suspended National Deputy Police Commissioner General Shadrack Sibia with attempted murder accused Vusimuzi Cat Matlala. The community of Sporong Informal Settlement in Randfontein has welcomed President Cyril Ramaphosa's announcement to deploy the National Defence Force to curb illegal mining and restore safety. And Britain is looking to regulate artificial intelligence to protect children when they use internet services. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
Taking a look at your markets this morning, the rand is currently trading at 15 rand 90 to the dollar, 21 rand 68 to the pound, and 18 rand 86 to the euro. Markets in Asia were mixed at the closing bell. The JSE green across the board during mid-morning trade. Markets in Europe are trading higher. Gold is trading at $5,002, platinum $2,037 per ounce. The price of Brent crude oil is at $67.62 a barrel.
Welcome to it. This is season 1 of Playlist happening right here at Moloko, and believe me, it's a party.
Set your reminder every Friday, 9 p.m. Playlist at Moloko is in the building.
Hurry! Get supersized savings at Spar for 4 days only. Get 2-litre Brooks Oro Squash for $34.99. Save 11 Rand. Or 1.5-litre Coca-Cola regular only. Buy 2 for 32 Rand. Save 10 Rand. Price is valid from 13 till 16 February. While stocks last. Max 5 deals per product per customer. Only at Spar. T's and C's apply.
Ezimnyama Ngenkani want to be remembered for stopping the reigning champions. However, Masandawana believe the Buccaneers will experience a long night of sadness. This is the Betway Premiership. Lisekazini forever. Catch the big clash between Orlando Pirates and Mamelodi Sundowns on Wednesday, 18 February at 6:30 p.m. live on SABC Plus and SABC 3. Then at 7:30 p.m. on SABC radio stations. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Kathy Mutlatlana is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube, and X at SAFM Radio.
All right, we continue the conversation on the talking point. We're reflecting on the declining trust levels in the public sector and really asking ourselves about what is going wrong with the way things are structured that is enabling the rot, that is enabling the corruption, that is enabling the inefficiencies that we see. Ruben Malika is General Manager at the PSA. Sabelo Chalufu is the founder and director of the Better Governance Initiative. Sabelo, good morning to you.
Good morning, Kathy. Good morning, Ruben, and good morning to the listeners.
All right, fantastic. Great to have you on the line. So Ruben, let me come back to you and give you an opportunity to reflect on us, please, on the question that I was asking before we went to the news headlines. things are going wrong because they're being enabled. Apologies, by multiple actors within the system to go wrong. And these actors also represent your members, because the hiring is not done from outside government. The hiring is not done by ministers. It is done by those that have been, entrusted with these positions.
Hello, Kathy?
Ruben, yes, we can
Yes.
hear you now. You're back.
Yes, thank you very much. Kathy, look, I've pointed out those 3 pointers that needs to be addressed. But second, the other point that one needs to put in place to your question is that if you talk about collusion, nepotism, within say, for argument's sake, when you deal with the issue of recruitment or procurement within the public service, then the answer is that the oversight bodies, because we do have the Auditor General. The Auditor General responsibility is to audit, the public service, to look at. Sometimes they'll go and say we are auditing HR matters. If AG is not able to go to that point, probably you will find that they are limited in terms of resources. And we have noted that in many instances, throughout the years, most of the oversight bodies have been suffocated by means of being denied resources, financial resources, capacity, and they're unable to conduct their oversight functions. The Auditor General, as we speak, you'll find that they don't have enough capacity, enough resources to audit such elements where it's critical. The HR processes, the procurement processes are not being audited. If you look at the Special Investigating Unit, similarly to NPA, all the oversight, public protector, those are the oversight bodies that should be taking care of these elements so that they can be redressed immediately. However, all these oversight bodies, if I can point also to Office of the Health Standard Compliance, which is responsible for health, they are all understaffed, they are all under-resourced, they don't have resources to perform. So we need to go back and say, how do we make sure that if we have done everything possible, the oversight bodies that must ensure compliance in the public service are resourced and capable of doing their function? That must be done.
What about the accountability, Ruben, from your side? Because these are your members. Surely there is a code of practice, a code of conduct that you, as the PSA, would also be expecting your members to prescribe to as they carry out their duties and responsibilities. So I hear what you're saying about the agencies, right, that are tasked with oversight. But I would imagine that you too have some kind of responsibility to ensure that your members are doing what they're supposed to be doing?
Look, the fact is that, remember, we take a little bit side of the whole picture of a public servant's responsibility. We come in as a trade union and looking at labor matters. However, the issue of ethics in the public service is something, if you go to every meeting, every gathering of members of PSA, that's an emphasis. In fact, we talk about our values as the organization. Ethical conduct is one of the principles and the values that we advance, and the members are fully aware of it. Respect, service excellence is all the values that we carry as the organization, the PSA, to say we want members to emulate this on the day-to-day function within the public service. However, you can never root out the rotten apples in totality. And I can assure you, and that's the stats that we have. Majority of the PSA members, the cases that we receive from time to time, is a fraction of our total membership, plus minus of let's say, even not even a percentage of the 250,000 members that will find that they might come with being charged of such misconduct. So that tells you that there's an impact from our side and the caliber of the membership that we have. Because if we have less than 1% of membership that can be having, being found wanting in the public service, it means we are doing something good as the PSA. We are doing an advocacy that of ethical conduct in the public service. And we wish that public servants in general could follow ethical conduct to ensure that our mothers, our brothers, our sisters down there, because it's not us leadership that are sitting waiting for service, it's those people in the villages that are waiting to see a nurse that provide a service. It's the schools where no-fee schools that people are waiting to see learning and teaching happening. That is why, as the PSA, we call upon members for ethical conduct.
Sabelo, one of the biggest drivers of the corruption that we see in our countries, this idea that even if you're corrupt, there will be no consequences, right? Because what we have seen is consistent, incomplete mechanisms of accountability. So even if we go to state capture, you can have lots of commissions of inquiries, but what becomes the pattern is that, yes, these things happen, there's a level of truth that is brought forward, but it just doesn't get to the point where there is full accountability. And by that I mean, people losing jobs and people going to jail for some of the illegal things that they have done. Speak to me about the impact of that, this idea that it's a consequence-free zone. And I know that here and there will be examples of, accountability that has taken place, but it certainly does not overwhelming. That's not the overwhelming experience. Instead, what we see are officials who behave in a way that says that they enjoy protection. One doesn't always understand where that protection is coming from, why they would feel that way. But certainly, it's a sense of, we are the untouchables.
A sense of impunity, one might even say.
Yes, Sabelo, go ahead.
Yes, indeed. Look, thank you. This is serious. The stress to.
All right, Sabelo, we're not winning with that line to you. We're going to have to redial you back on a different line just to also get your responses. Sean just sent through a message, Ruben, that I want you to respond to. He says, look at all the PSA members that are being promoted from clerks to police officers. This is why SAPS members are despondent. There are some SAPS members that deserve the post. Ruben, do you understand what Sean is talking about there? Maybe you can expand on it a little bit for us.
Look, I think Sean refers to a situation where a civilian, not a SAPS member, within the police service in the SAPS would apply for a service position where will be promoted. Look, there's an element where we are saying, without generalizing, is an issue of saying, when we deal with issues of recruitment, let recruitment be professionalized. Let it be a situation where relevant qualification and experience are considered so that we can eliminate a situation where patronage trumps up what the experience and the qualification should have been considered before. So understanding from the point that, somebody that is not within a particular profession being preferred over somebody within the profession. And that is what I pointed earlier to say. We're in an engineering field. Somebody comes with a religious degree, but has to advance more than somebody that is within the environment. That is wrong. And that is exactly what I understand to be the question of the caller. And for us as the PSA, we're saying that should not be happening in the public service.
But Ruben, it is happening. And so even this idea of professionalize the public service, these interviews take place under a particular framework, right? Because in some instances, it's not like there's a complete disregard of the process. The problem is that the process is rigged. The process is skewed and skewed towards certain outcomes. One of our listeners just sent me this message, and I think it goes to part of what I'm saying on this very issue this morning. I want to read this message. Who says, Kathy, I was collecting takeaways on Friday, and the conversation that you're having resonates so much. My heart goes out to the poor people who complete Z83 applications and don't hear anything back from government departments. I watched a group of public servants collude amongst themselves as to how they would get family members into various departments. This is why you go to some departments and municipal offices and find 3 generations of the same family working as clerks and other roles. How about independent vetting of applicants? Public servants are the reason public services have collapsed.
Yes, Kathy, I think that goes back to the issue that I've raised to say, without national audit that is conducted, from time to time by the Auditor General of all these processes, and those who are found wanting or involved in such acts being taken into processes where they can account. Because without, as you pointed out, sometimes you'll find that it involves people in, with authority that this collision happens. But naturally, there's no way that the systems can clean itself within. You'd need an oversight body that can come and look into these systems and provide a way forward. If it is found that there was collusion, people with no relevant qualification or experience were appointed without merit, then those who are responsible for such recruitment must be held accountable, must be taken through a disciplinary process where they can be able to give an opportunity of what transpired. And those who were appointed through that process, the process should be followed to reverse such an appointment, because it's an undue benefit and is the robbing of the state of service. Because how do you render a service of something that you are not qualified to do? And therefore, that goes back to the same issue that you have raised. Then, at the end of the day, the public complains to say there are no public service delivery, because people that are sitting there, they don't have qualifications, they don't know what they're doing, they don't have knowledge of what should be delivered in those positions.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, and then I'm back with your listeners, with your questions too, for Ruben Maleka.
You can become a victim of a legal problem: wrongful arrest, assault, uncontested divorce, rental disputes, maintenance matters, or labor problems. It can happen to you. Clientele Legal provides tough professional lawyers for an affordable monthly premium. Our legal team is standing by to assist you 24 hours a day. Join today. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
The Blues are going all out for maximum points at Stamford Bridge.
Stevaus flipped it back to him. The Brazilian connection working nicely. João Pedro for 2, and he's done it. The Blues Brazilians at the double here.
However, it is a must-win game for the Clarets to try to escape from the danger zone.
Deflected and in! Oh, Burnley lead! Sharp lead for the Clarets. Bashir Humphries will claim it. It's got a deflection, and Burnley have got an early lead here.
This is the Premier League. Chelsea FC versus Burnley FC, the Saturday 21 February at 4:30 p.m. Live on SABC Plus and SABC 3. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
As we celebrate 90 years of existence, SAFM takes you back to the voices that shaped a nation.
Berea, the home of the four bespectacled Tisson brothers, all of whom work or have worked on the English service, particularly Audio Mix and Radio Today. Watch how the night proceeds towards dawn.
And
I need a lot of consoling when I started the early program. People couldn't believe that John O'Donnell and B. Reid were chosen for the early morning program, because if ever two announcers used to want to swap a morning shift for an afternoon shift, John and I would do it.
90 years of trusted voices. This is SAFM.
Hashtag SAFM Talking Point.
You're listening to The Talking Point as we continue to lead conversations that move us. Anonymous, you're in Sanin. Good morning.
Morning, how are you?
Yes, sir.
I'm good, Seskate. Seskate, in Saturday, I went to the shop where they are selling food. So I went there to eat. After eating, I wanted to wash my hands. So only to realize that there is no water for hands washing. It was only sanitizer that was there. So I had a complaint to the point where I went to the police station. When I reached there, complaining about that, then the lady, the police told me that the issues are it must be referred to the municipality. So I told them that because today municipality are not working, so what to do? So there were two ladies. Then they called another person, which he was a man. So to come and to use his power to intimidate me so that I cannot go on with the issue. So
I'm curious about Anonymous. Why did you decide to go report the fact that there was no water at the police station?
Oh, okay. Because I just thought maybe what they are doing is illegal, because you can't sell food that is prepared without people washing their hands.
Oh, okay. So for sanitation purposes, right?
Yes.
Okay, for the establishment. So you were going there to report the establishment that you had used.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right, Anonymous. Thanks for that. Kirk, you're in Cape Town. Good morning.
Good morning, Kathy. I cannot help but chuckle when I hear the PSA talk about the professionalization of the public sector, public service, because the minimum standard is not being met. We are so far away from professionalization when there is no recourse for not meeting the basic service delivery. And of course, unfortunately, the entire public service ecosystem, I believe, is in a very, very sad state, and that goes from the municipal cemeteries that you see that are in such poor condition, the building plans which you have to wait 6 months for approval, to an MEC saying that some people like to sleep on the floor in hospitals. That's the whole ecosystem. There is no service ethic within municipalities. I live in Cape Town, so I think I'm still getting some level, but it's just the minimum basic. And until everybody provides a minimum basic service, we shouldn't be talking about professionalization at any point.
And you know, Kirk, I'm thinking about this message that was sent through by one of our listeners who talks about having 3 generations of the same family within the same department, and I just think about, well, what is the accountability that can be effected in such an environment? Do you think accountability is even possible? If
it's impossible,
my aunt, my uncle, my son, how does that work?
It's impossible, Kathy, because even when there's no nepotism, there is still a prevailing attitude of we get away with it, so we do it. We employ who we want. We pay who we want. When we issue tenders like we want. There's nothing that is unaffected by this state. And for the union to say professionalization, it's a joke, an absolute joke.
All right, Kirk, we're going to have to leave it there. Sabelo, we've been struggling with that line to you. I hope that we're going to be a third time lucky, even though we are edging towards the end of our conversation. Good morning again.
Morning. Can you hear me this time?
Yes, that's much better. Thank you so much.
Wonderful.
So let me give you a chance to give your contribution to this conversation.
No, thank you so much. Look, the issue of the lack of consequences for errant behavior and for effectively corruption at times is very destructive to public confidence. And you will hear, I think I heard Kirk now at the end, that the extent to which people simply refuse to believe that we can have a better situation is really because of everything that we've seen over time. And unfortunately, that then makes people not trust in the public service and not have confidence that government can deliver things, deliver proper services to us, public goods and all of that stuff, without then stealing our money, and then a preference for privatization and all that kind of stuff. And that is so problematic in the long term. It's even challenging in the short term, because we all know, once services and once public services are privatized, the cost of everything goes up, and it makes our lives generally more difficult. So what we need is to have a public service that functions properly, and in which people who misbehave, who misconduct themselves, are held accountable, from the most senior to the most junior.
All right, and you're right. We have to find a way of bringing accountability into the system. But Ruben, I'm afraid that the perspective from unions and the posture seems to be one that says that, yes, you will talk about these issues, you will look at accountability from the agencies that are supposed to conduct the oversight, but certainly I don't get a sense that you as unions are willing to put your necks on the line and hold your members accountable.
We do, and that is why we also called upon the amendment of the Public Service Amendment Act, Public Service Amendment Bill, and one of it is to strengthen the oversight of it. Kathy, you can never deny the fact that pre-2007 Polokwane conference, the Scorpions, everybody knew that when the Scorpions are coming for you, you know you are going to shake in your boots. And there was effective way of people being threatened that don't be involved because the Scorpions are coming. So that is why we are saying the oversight bodies must be strengthened, must be resourced, must have capability to deter and also address this impunity. If you have oversight bodies weakened, unable to do what they're supposed to be doing, therefore it means there'll never be a one to accountability. An example, like I'm saying, is the previous Scorpions that was disbanded. Everybody knew that when the Scorpions name is mentioned or you see that car coming, you'll know that no, something that I did is coming to an end. So that is what we are saying. And we have called even IPID, like for argument's sake, IPID. We say, why must IPID report to the Minister of Police? Because it should be remaining a Chapter 9 and oversight body that can be able to account. But now, it is obviously going to be underfunded, because how can the minister fund something that will find him wanting? The same thing happened at health. Office of Health Standard and Compliance, that must make sure that hospitals are well resourced, inspections are done, compliance are done. It's not resourced, because where does it report? It reports to the Minister of Health. It must be an oversight body that's independent, outside of the political influence or political authority. All these things, if they're not being done, we can talk about everything else about lack of service delivery, but somebody must be able to be an oversight body and make these people account similarly to the scorpions that we used to have before.
Okay. Ruben, we're going to have to leave it there for today. Thank you for your contributions to the conversation. And yeah, Sabelo, I'm so sorry that the network was giving us issues. We could only give you limited contribution to this conversation that we were having. I think we should we must try and have Professor Fikeni on. You know, he's had his term renewed at the Public Service Commission. I think that was just in the last week that was announced. But let's get him on. Let's find out, you know, what does he think he's been able to accomplish since taking over the PSC, and what work really still remains. Maybe we feel that things are not changing, but he might provide a different insight. I don't know, but let's try and get him on too, so that he can give us a real overview of the state of affairs. It's time for your latest 11 o'clock news update.
Thank you, Kathy. On the top stories, witness F's testimony moved to March in the Madlanga Commission and a warning on the deepening hunger crisis in the country. For SAFM News, I am Ondelambana and a very good morning. Witness F will no longer appear before the Madlanga Commission due to ill health. Witness F has previously linked suspended National Deputy Police Commissioner General Shedrake Sibia with attempted murder accused Vusimuzi Ket Matlala. His witness testimony has been moved to the 16th of March. Evidence leader Matthew Chasklason elaborates.
Witness F has been hospitalized and is not available today. There is an application for postponement. The medical certificate on the last page of that application, Annex I-2, records that Witness F will not be available at least until 25th February. We have looked at our calendar, and the earliest available date that we have after 25th February would be 16th March.
The community of Sporong Informal Settlement in Randfontein has welcomed President Cyril Ramaphosa's announcement to deploy the National Defence Force to curb illegal mining and restore safety. Residents of Sporong fled their homes in January after being terrorized and threatened by illegal miners, while the Reveille community in Johannesburg has for years raised concerns about crime linked to Zamazamas operating at the Zamimpilo Informal Settlement. Following the President's State of the Nation address, community members say the army's intervention could bring much-needed relief. One of the residents, Father Million Shabangu, says the situation has become unbearable.
We'd be very grateful if soldiers could come and help us. Although there's police present, we're still not coping. We're not sleeping. We wish soldiers could come in large numbers and put an end to these wrongdoings. We cannot sleep at night. They take our phones, they break into shops, and they steal our groceries. If they see our wives, they beat them.
Search efforts continue for a man who went missing at a sea near Fisher Haven in Hermanus. The National Sea Rescue Institute says they responded to reports of a drowning on Saturday at Bot River Lagoon. NSARI spokesperson Craig Lambinon says a 26-year-old man was apparently with a friend when he disappeared in the waters. Lambinon says they immediately started their search operations and also alerted police divers.
On Sunday, NSRI Hermanus assisted police in ongoing search efforts and launched the NSRI rescue craft Jetrim. Despite extensive search efforts, there remains no signs of the missing man. Police have opened an investigation. NSRI are informed that police, water policing and diving services will continue in ongoing search efforts.
Food Forward South Africa Foundation, South Africa's largest food redistribution non-profit organization, has warned that urgent action is needed to address the deepening hunger crisis in the country, with millions of households being food insecure. A comprehensive survey by the organization found that 7 out of 10 households in the country experienced moderate to severe food insecurity, while almost 1 in 4 go a day without food. Andy Du Plessis from Food Forward South Africa says inequality, unemployment and high food prices are the main drivers.
We can see clearly which are the hotspots: Limpopo, Eastern Cape, the Northwest, Mpumalanga. Those are the hotspots. And we can see that children are the worst affected in those households. Parents are finding it increasingly difficult to explain to children that there's only a little food to eat, or tonight you have to go without food.
Britain is looking to regulate artificial intelligence to protect children when they use internet services. This comes after Grok, the AI chatbot embedded in Elon Musk's platform X, was widely used to make fake naked images of women and children. The BBC's Zoe Kleinman has the details.
The Online Safety Act was written before the release of AI chatbots such as ChatGPT. The government says it intends to close loopholes in the legislation, so the tech is included. New rules aim to speed up coroners informing Ofcom about the death of a child, so the regulator can order tech companies to preserve their data if it's relevant to how they died. A public consultation begins next month on a possible social media ban for under 16s, restricting their access to AI chatbots and limiting infinite scrolling. The government says it will respond quickly, but critics are concerned this could mean government giving itself powers to change laws without due process.
Recapping the top story, Witness F will no longer appear before the Madlanga Commission due to ill health. Witness F has previously linked suspended National Deputy Police Commissioner General Shadrack Sibiya with attempted murder accused Vusimuzi Kat Matlala. I'm on the Lambada for SAFM News Headlines at 11:30.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide.
For 90 years, one voice has informed, challenged and connected a nation. SAFM, South Africa's national English public radio station. Established in 1936 as the SABC's very first service, the A program, evolving through the English service, Radio South Africa, to SAFM in 1995, shaping thought and strengthening democracy. From a full-spectrum station to a trusted home of news and talk, SAFM continues to lead the conversations 90 years strong. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
The Talking Point with Kathy Motlatlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
You're listening to The Talking Point. It's 8 after 11 o'clock. Welcome to the third and final hour of the show. Coming up in this hour, we're going to pick up on what is quite a significant development coming out of the State of the Nation address last week. And that was an announcement by President Cyril Ramaphosa that the SANDF will now be deployed to the Western Cape and to Gauteng to play a support role and assist the South African Police Service with some of the work that they are doing. In particular, what the President has highlighted has been around gang violence in the Western Cape, especially on the Cape Flats and surrounding areas. So this is why the military is being deployed. And in Gauteng, it's around illegal mining syndicates and just the havoc, really, that is being caused by violent clashes, robbery, and general lawlessness that seems to be prevailing in communities where there's a high influx of illegal mining. General Bantu Holomisa is the Deputy Minister of Defence and Military Veterans. He joins me on the line this morning. General Holomisa, good morning to you. Thank you for your time today.
Good morning, Kathy. Good morning to our listeners. You are getting younger and younger. Can you share your recipe?
Thank you, General. For those of our listeners who might not understand, the General is joining us on a Teams call, so he and I are both able to see each other on that call. Of course, you're listening to the audio. Thanks, General. I'll try and put together a recipe book and share with you after the interview. Look, I've seen the reaction, right, by different groupings that have welcomed the deployment of the army. But there is a part of me, though, that is sitting on the fact that we have been here before, General. We have been here before. It is not the first time that we're seeing the army deployed to assist with gang violence in the Western Cape. It's not the first time we're seeing them deployed to deal with the illegal mining syndicates in Gauteng. What's different now?
Well, I was not part of those programs before, but as a person who understands the issues related to military, I would be insisting that during the briefing we are going to get from the police who are requesting the defense to assist them is to ask one simple question. Who are the kingpins, or who sell these proceeds of mineral resources outside the country and other markets? Because it can't be those people who we are chasing right now. Nor can it also be the same people who are responsible for fighting in the gang areas for the territory to sell whatever they are selling. Who orders these from South America if they are coming from that part of the world? Inside the country, do we have cells like the one which was exposed recently that some people from Mexico have got factories here to produce drugs? So all those nitty-gritties we need to be praised of, because it might well be that we are going to chase people in Cape Town, in the streets and so on. But the kingpins are somewhere in waterfront. They are living in Sea Point, in all these fancy suburbs of Cape Town. We have to go deeper. And we will also demand that let us be briefed by the representatives of the Interpol. So if we want to find a lasting solution, let's look into those. Who brings these products to South Africa? What are their motives? They're making money, and so on and so on. We just need that simple intelligence. Then we come up with a proper plan.
Lasting solutions, Minister, is probably where we have been unsuccessful before. Previous deployments show that the presence of the military has been successful in stabilizing violence in certain instances, that there is some form of temporary reprieve due to the increased presence of the SAPS. But what happens is that the minute they leave, these syndicates re-emerge. So there hasn't been that sense of a lasting solution. Maybe take us a little bit into your confidence and tell us the kind of conversations that you had, including perhaps with the presidency, maybe with the SAPS, that speaks to those issues that can give us hope as South Africans that this is not going to be yet another round of Band-Aid in the midst of an election cycle, which of course will always be drawn into it, and that there will be meaningful and lasting impact.
I'm not going to waste your time. I'll just go straight to the solutions. I've already told you that there is a need to identify the kingpins. And in doing so, we must make sure that we have committees which are going to work under during this operation to say when we are preparing to arrest people, will the NPA be ready to act swiftly so that those perpetrators who are being sent by people who lives in these posh suburbs like Thames Bay, the people who are responsible for ordering these drugs to come into the country in the first instance, how are we going to arrest them? We need to focus on that. That would be to solve this thing for future in South Africa. But right now, I cannot lie to you. We have not yet been briefed by the police. The police, we are going to demand, where's their crime intelligence report? The state security agency must also brief the military and the police. And out of that, we can come up now with a plan to address these concerns you are raising. If, for instance, Minister X is involved, is one of the kingpins in this exercise, that individual must be charged. If businessmen so-and-so with 7 Lamborghinis or 10 what vehicles, that individual, if it is involved, is selling drugs, they must appear in court. So we want action, not theory.
General, I'm going to put you on the spot now. Did the president tell you?
Welcome.
Did the president tell you that he was going to deploy the army? Did you know about this before the State of the Nation address?
Yes, I knew it. But remember, the president is not working alone. Even that speech which he presented, he didn't craft it with his clerks around him and officials. This is a process which we started from the day we met for the first time as GNU partners to say these are the priorities for the country: unemployment, economy, and so on and so on. But the security, we always flagged it, that the issue related to the crime in South Africa needs to be highlighted and prioritized. We did that in that Lekgotla beginning of 2025, and then another second Lekgotla towards end of last year, and then the summit which was held by the president together with the leaders of the GNU, leaders of political parties in the GNU. And again this year in Lekgotla, we said the crime and corruption setup must be prioritized. So it is in that score that the president was bold to speak longer on that issue and issued a direction. So ours now is to come up with a plan to realize that objective of the president and the government of the GNU.
I want to understand, because as you're speaking, General, a lot of the things that you have mentioned around what is going wrong, they speak directly into the functions of the SAPS. So if you're talking investigations, if you're talking mapping out, persons of interest in investigations, identifying kingpins, if you're talking about effecting arrests, all of those are within the roles and the responsibilities of the SAPS. How do you see the support of the SANDF coming in? What practically, what is it that you believe is expected of you in this moment to do that I guess also doesn't make the roles and responsibilities quite blurred? Because, of course, the SANDF and the SAPS exist for very distinct functions.
The president, I'm sure, after he was thoroughly briefed now by the state intelligence, that is South SSA, as well as by the police and indeed the military intelligence, at their forum, which is called National Security Council. I'm sure then when he was shown the hardcore intelligence and he took a decision, or that forum took a decision, on the request of the security cluster, of course, to say, Mr. President, this is the route. Now, when you say you are going to deploy soldiers, the soldiers have no powers to arrest people. They are not going to do that. The people who will be having warrants of arrest and so on is the police. So let me make a practical example. If we have the police or intelligence have identified a kingpin or kingpins on this, and we say this coming weekend we'll arrest them on Golf Estate X, on Suburb B, and so on. When we go there, because these people who have assessed them that they are dangerous, the police will be assisted by the army. That means we cordon off that particular complex. And the police comes in and knock at your door and say, we are the South African police who would like to search. Then at least that individual can be told that just look outside, peep through the window. We are being sent by the government as police as well as the military. Please comply. Just allow us to do our work. It's as simple as that. We're not at war here where you say the artillery, you deploy that gun, that person there. We are protecting, if in other words, to make it simply, protecting our police to do their work. Because in some instances, you have seen it, the criminals have fired back to our policemen. A lot of our policemen die on duty. Now, this time around, we say, don't take your chances. Comply with us.
So, if I'm hearing you correctly, General, it sounds to me that there is an issue around the capability of the police to do what they are supposed to do. Staying with your example of identifying kingpins and then effecting arrests, it seems to me that part of how you also understand this deployment is you're going to be there to make sure the SAPS does what they are supposed to do, and that there is follow through
without any interference from any outsider or anybody else.
So that is, in fact, I'm framing it correctly there.
You are 100% correct, and that is the role we play when we are called upon to support the police. That's the duty. That's what we do exactly. I can't give it another name.
So, from a structural point of view, General, how is it going to work? Does this mean that the National Commissioner will now effectively be reporting on the work of the police to who, and how, help me understand, and treat me like a layman. Unpack it thoroughly for me so that I'm able to fully get it.
Normally, in an exercise of this nature, a joint operations room or committee will be established. And the person who is in charge there is the police department of SAPS. They are the ones who will be in charge. But in that meeting, they will be given powers to get intelligence report from the police, from the army, from the state security agency. Out of that, Then they will make a quick appreciation of the situation and come up with a plan and to say, we need to go and deploy in region A or suburb A or township X in that corner, and we need so much troops to assist us, so much vehicles to assist us, and so on. And then we do our work. It works like that. So the commissioner of police will be in charge. Then where do they report? The commissioner of police will report to the joint, that is to the minister of police. They are responsible. But we will be privy to information as members of a security cluster, because we are going to monitor that at executive level. Also, the other people who will be doing an oversight immediately are the members of parliament through various portfolio committees. Where there are rights which are questioned or human rights are being violated, the Commission for Human Rights has got a right to jump in immediately and say, Mr. Minister or Mr. President, we hear that your soldiers or police or that operation is not working according to the plan. So all we want is to make sure that we deploy people with discipline, people who understands the mission, why they are there, and then we keep everybody informed.
All right. So from a high-level structural point of view, thanks for that, General. And then from what ordinary South Africans are going to experience on the ground, the deployments on the ground, are we going to have SANDF members at the Western Cape in the community? And does the deployment look the same for the Western Cape and for Gauteng? What is that going to entail?
Well, for Gauteng, it might be different because we are dealing mainly with people who are operating underground illegally and carrying dangerous weapons. Even there, if we want to do an effective job, we may have to look at the role of our special forces. What role can they play other than just to send an ordinary soldier? We've got different training and capacities within the SANDF. On that one, we will also get para briefing from the intelligence agencies, but more importantly, that one will need a military briefing, military intelligence briefing, because you are talking about approaching an area where people are brandishing weapons of war. So you can't just gamble.
In the Western Cape?
Western Cape is more or less the same, but the way we are going to move, at least is we have to rely on the police as to which area do they want our immediate assistance. But if you look at the mines are stretched all over from Johannesburg, Limpopo, Northwest, and Mpumalanga. So we expect that we may have to look into that region and that area holistically as to how do we deal with the whole setup. But this is that one in terms of classification, I would say is more dangerous than the people, these boys who are chasing nyaupes all over the show, rather than those who are in the mines underground. And we have proved, the reports showed that the people who are operating in those mines have been trained militarily from some neighboring countries. So we don't want to take any chances. We must make sure that we have the right intelligence. Once we have that core intelligence, then we work. But fortunately, the Defense Force was sort of warned some few weeks ago that the president might do this. And then obviously we had to hit the ground running.
All right, so different deployment approaches, but just to be clear, General Holomisa, in the Western Cape, you're going to have boots on the ground. At the Cape Flats?
Boots on the ground may not necessarily mean that we will literally be patrolling every street. At some stage, if the target is certain area, then we get out of our trucks. Then we surround that area. Then you have patrols, which might be done by troops being mobile. That means you see them patrolling the areas, not necessarily the troops on the ground, the boots on the ground. But there are certain areas where if it is classified that we need to go and take out or arrest some thugs in certain area, then we will surround on the area, but we will be walking with the police.
We're going to continue the conversation with the Deputy Minister of Defence and Military Veterans, General Bantu Holomisa. I'll also be taking your calls, questions for him around this deployment of the SANDF to Gauteng and the Western Cape. The number to dial this morning, 086 000 2032. That's 086 000 2032. On the WhatsApp voice note line, 0614 104 107. It's time for your 11:30 news headlines.
Thank you, Kathy. On the news headlines, the case against 3 people accused of murdering an e-hailing driver in Pretoria has been postponed to next Monday for further investigations in the Pretoria Magistrates Court. Witness F will no longer appear before the Madlanga Commission due to ill health. Witness F has previously linked suspended National Deputy Police Commissioner General Shadrack Sibiya with attempted murder accused Vusumuzi Ket Matlala, and Gauteng Transport MEC Dia Letlabela is calling for accountability following a crash this morning involving a Scholar Transport vehicle on the N4 eastbound near the Attridgeville area in Tshwane. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
With the ever-changing financial landscape, it can be difficult to make sense of all the moves at times. Join me, Jimmy Moyaha, on the SAFM Market Update with MoneyWeb, Mondays to Thursdays, 6 to 7 p.m, as we break down the key market trends, top financial stories, and smart investment insights, all in one place. It's everything you need to stay financially informed and ahead of the curve.
You are listening to The Full Circle.
A space where generations come together in conversation that seek to spark curiosity, inspire innovation, and feed the curious mind. For arts, culture, and robust conversations, join me every weekday between 1 and 3 p.m. on The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga as we explore the stories, lessons, and conversations that guide us back to self.
Wherever you are in the world, SAFM 104 to 107 is accessible. We're also streaming live on Facebook, X, and YouTube at SAFM Radio. We acknowledge and appreciate everyone tuning in and watching our streams. Stay with SAFM 104 to 107 as we bring you Commission Live, breaking stories, and thought-provoking lectures. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. This is Dulasizwe Simelane on The Morning Brief.
Just your overall impressions of how far along we went in getting answers to some of the questions you have on day one of Paul O'Sullivan's appearance before your committee.
The best bet yesterday when I said to him, is there anyone that can vouch for this? Is there anyone that can tell us more about your time? You couldn't actually tell us about that. But I guess that's where it all started. It started with him being a reservist in SAPS, and that's where he got his fingers into the cookie jar and things just got completely out of hand. 1 minute he's got a degree, next minute he doesn't have any formal qualifications, so I'm not sure where we're at. I specifically asked him yesterday, do you have any degrees, do you have any qualifications, and he said no. And 5 minutes later, the same question was posed to him and he said yes.
Geraldine James is Action SA.
Big stories of the day on The Morning Brief.
Let's have the conversation. WhatsApp voice notes on 0614 104 107.
Good morning, voice from Victoria. I hear the general, but I have a question for the general. The general, the kingpins, they don't keep drugs in their position or in their house. So how the soldiers are gonna investigate the kingpins? Isn't it for the relevant authorities to deal with that? How are they gonna assist? If it's someone staying in waterfront, like you're saying, how is it gonna assist the soldiers?
Good morning, Oscar T. My question to the general is it the first time them hearing about these zamazamas? And if it's not the first time, why they were so quiet all along? That's my question. Can you please ask the general that question? Because these zamazamas, they've been terrorizing our community for so long, and we've been crying as a community that these zamazamas are killing. That those people are serial killers. As you can see, those people fled their homes. Not a child's play that it's happening there. This thing, it's been happening for so long. Why they were quiet all along?
Good morning, Sis Kathy and the general himself. But my question is, first time when we deployed our soldiers, what did they do? What did they remove from the communities who were crying? Because it seems like the soldiers came as peace soldiers, and we need soldiers who will remove these criminals. Eliminate if it happened that they have to eliminate. But now we can never call soldiers to become a peace soldiers in the trouble that we have in this country. Good morning, this is Agmatele.
All right, so those are just some of the questions that our listeners have sent through for General Bantu Holomisa, the Deputy Minister of Defence and Military Veterans, as he unpacks the deployment of the Army as announced by President Cyril Ramaphosa in the Western Cape and in Gauteng. General, let me give you a chance to answer some of those questions before I bring in our listeners that are holding on the studio line.
Firstly, I said the defense force or the military or soldiers will working in support of the police. If the police says to us that particular kingpin in that particular corner is dangerous, we need escort. We need to be that place to be cordoned off. We will do that. So long about the kingpins. Zamazamas. Yes, the mere fact that the security cluster has been reporting this concern, the concern that the crime in this country is on a high level. So we need to address it. So those zamazamas, yes, the army and the police once get involved in that area. But currently, the president has said the report on the ground indicates that this issue of zamazamas is spreading. He is quite correct to say these are serial killers. That's why I was saying earlier on that we would need to come up with another plan for that area, because it's not the same as patrolling the streets of Cape Town and so on. The criminals, yes, criminals have been here, and we have to make sure that the criminal justice system is operating in this country. If police arrest people, and then those people must be charged, and the NPA must take decision quickly as to when are they appearing in court. As long as we work in silos, we would never deal with the criminals from whatever level. So we need to make sure that those who are breaking the law, they are charged immediately. I think I've covered.
And the question around what did they root out before? So when they were deployed before, what was the outcome of that?
Those details then will be given to us when we're doing a briefing. Exactly where did they succeed and what were the failures? And if we deploy our troops and the police now, which areas are we going to concentrate on and to make sure that we don't repeat the same mistakes? Remember that we are Minister NG and myself, we are getting involved in this for the first time, this major exercise.
Johannes, you're in Woodbank. Good morning.
How are you, Katie?
Go for it, sir.
Deputy Minister, greeting to you also. Katie, I'm worried about the training of police in South Africa. You know, now they are deploying SNADF. But you know why the police are struggling to get rid of those zamazamas and drug dealers and killers? It's because of the training that they are getting from police. Our police are not trained enough to tackle this crime that we have now. You can see even if they are testifying on my was training trials, also on Madlanga trials, that we not have competent police in South Africa. So the issue here, you know, we are seeing to umukata isahlu utawusasifuni, we have 10, we are amandla. They must get the root of this thing. Must keep isihlahla ukhipha zonke impande ngaphandle ngeke sisabuye. Why they don't get rid of guns in South Africa before they deploy SNADF? They must start with the police training. Do we have competent police in South Africa?
Okay, Jonas, let's leave it there. Pax, you're in Cape Town. Good morning.
Good morning, Cassie. Trust me, you're well, and good morning to the Honorable Deputy Minister General Bantolo Misa. My question morning, General. My question to you, Honorable Minister, is based on what you have already highlighted that you are going to come into this operation as SAPS to assist the police where it is needed in volatile situations. Now, you've got the wing of the defense, which is the Navy, which deals with the maritime area, which is the seas. Now, my concern is with some of these contraband or drugs that come in, it is highly likely that they come in from our ports, which is here in the Western Cape, the Port of Cape Town, and it's a known fact that our port doesn't have one of those scanners that are able to scan counterfeit goods and as well as airborne substances. So can you highlight on that, Minister?
All right. Thanks for the question, Pax. Minister?
On the issue of the training of police, sometimes we need to agree that we like to copy policies all over the world and want to place or put them in South Africa. Before 1994, we did not have this civilian oversight over the police. Fortunately, in 1994, the Constitution allowed that because of the history of our police, which was utilized wrongly, some of them killing the operatives who were fighting for the struggle and so on. But in 1994, both the police and the army had what you call a civilian oversight, where the accounting officers are not the generals, but they are the civilians. To complicate matters worse in the police force, if you look at people like Peggy Peles, that other commissioner who was there, Celebi, those were not trained policemen. They were appointed to do civilian oversight. But when they got into the police service, they wore a uniform and then put ranks of generals. So it went down to others who were deployed to go to police as to do civilian oversight. And then that frustrated even those who have been trained now in the police force. Look at the joke we are witnessing in the Madlanga Commission. You can see that these people have no clue, and they don't know about their police force. So yes, I once said earlier on, I don't know whether I was on this channel or on another channel, that we may have to look at the top structure of the police service and say at the age of 55 and above, they must go home. And we make sure that those who will become commissioners of police in various strategic areas, they understand the police force and they are trained. The civilian oversight, if it is going to be there, is fine. They must wear civilian clothes and they must be confined into working with the minister and not to interfere in the day-to-day operation of the police force. Insofar as the Navy ports and so on, yes, Navy have been complaining about lack of funds and so on, but the Department of Transport, which is responsible for scanning everything which comes through our port, are the ones which needs to be empowered to make sure that these goods which are brought to South Africa illegally are stopped right there. Yes, if there are boats which are not using the correct ports, the Navy and the Defense Force in general must brief us about that possibility. I'm sure the Navy has got its own assessment on that.
General, just to wrap things up, I understand that you've got Armed Forces Day celebrations coming up this week that will be held in Thohoyandou. How much are you spending on that event?
The original budget, which the general submitted to the Secretary of Defense and the financial officers, they estimated 350 or so million. But Minister Masekha and I, we sat down and looked into this and we said, no, we cannot approve this. But we know that the Army Day is a big day for any soldier in any country. It raises their morale. But we are not here to frustrate our soldiers. We cut that budget up to 178 million.
Is this money to be spent for that one day, for the event? What is this money for?
This money starts from the various units where you say they must do rehearsals from their units. That money, when you go and do rehearsals, that means you are going to need fuel to go to the range. You are going to need transportation, you service your tanks. There's a lot which is, and then on that day, when you see those soldiers have been there for almost 2 weeks now, doing rehearsals, practicing, so that they can showcase the capacity and capability they have. So that's the nature of the Defense Force. You can't just wake up soldiers and say, here is 100 million or 50 million or whatever. Tomorrow we have got an exercise. The expenditure covers the period where you go and buy ammunition for practice, service vehicles, service efforts, so that on that day, you come up with completed work and demonstrate how the precisions operates in the Defense Force.
Sure, General.
Unfortunately, that is the profession we are managing.
I mean, my jaw is on the floor. How do we move from not being able to buy soldiers' uniform and boots, and then spending 170 million, at least with the latest budget for one day?
You will be surprised that the uniform was ordered long time ago and the boots, but we normally are frustrated by the service providers who don't deliver on time. It's the same thing which I've noticed, that like an institution like DBSA, which has been given power or given the work to maintain military bases. And then you'll find that when you say you have not met your deadline, they tell you that no, the service provider we appointed has gone under. So we are trying to fix that mess.
All right, General Holomisa, we're going to have to leave it there. Deputy Minister of Defence and Military Veterans. Yeah, that's all we have time for. We appreciate your time this morning. That's where I'm going to wrap it up on the talking point. Up next is the book reading. We're back with you tomorrow between 9 and midday.
Please note that the views expressed in this book are not that of the station. Listeners' discretion is advised. SFM presents another episode of the book Boardroom Dancing by Nolita Fakude, read by Vuyokazi Tere.
The third strategic goal spoke to the broader issue of transformation in the country at large. Sasol was out of step with what was happening in the country at that time. Not only was it falling behind and being criticized for it, the attitude was one of hurt surprise at the criticism than acknowledgement of what needed to be done internally. Sasol was a successful entity. It had grown and expanded and delivered economically. It was a good place to work and the benefits were generous. That it had been able to do all these things as a result of an imbalance of privilege and opportunity was less acknowledged or recognized. What we needed urgently to achieve was to get Sasol plugged into the broader transformation program taking place in all areas of strategic development in South Africa. Not because they needed politically to be on board, but because of the increased value that would result. About a year after I arrived, I made my first presentation to the company's top 1,000 leaders. I found an organization of warm hearts but cold hands, I began. I then went on to explain that I had found Sasol's people as individuals to be warm, loyal, and fiercely proud of their company and its achievements. However, as a group, they handled external relationships with a harsh and arrogant command and control attitude, which failed to translate that individual humanity. Addressing this disconnect, I concluded, our challenge is to connect the head and the heart, to translate the heart's warmth to the head, and to warm the hands. As the company had already acknowledged the need for culture change through the surveys conducted, our conversations launched straight into what kind of shift could transform the culture of command and control and arrogance into a culture of inclusiveness and acknowledgement of others. In other words, to transform the win-lose attitude to one that was win-win, to shift from an environment where a lack of diversity was the order of the day to one where diversity was encouraged and embraced. Transforming Sasol into a committed corporate citizen would require an institutional shift as profound as any we have had seen so far in our new democracy. The leaders of the organization had to drive this change. Interventions. Having surveyed existing perceptions and outlined the principles behind the desired culture change, it was time to get to the interventions. There are a few non-negotiables to successfully implementing a culture change. First, as I have already noted, visible support from the CEO and top leadership are absolutely vital. Without this, I would never have embarked on this journey. Second, a credible rationale for change beyond it being the right thing is needed for employee buy-in. In the business world, matters of culture are often viewed as soft strategies and are often difficult to quantify against the bottom line. Sasol was high-performing and financially successful, so we needed to sell the culture change process to the organization in a language that resonated. For Sasol, the business case for change came down to the company's growth ambitions and aspirations. Already operating in 35 countries, the company was looking ever outward, especially to the Middle East and the rest of the African continent. Continued expansion to international markets meant an increasing need to open up the organizational culture. Sustainability in our growth context required addressing concerns around diversity both within and outside of South Africa, and culture change was an enabling strategy to ensure that sustainability. Unlocking this strategy largely came down to attracting the right people and entering into healthy win-win relationships with all stakeholders, including governments. Continued growth would demand better management of our talent pipeline, and also that management needed to reflect the progressive and inclusive culture that we wanted for our company. Diversity here extended from diversity in skills and thinking to diversity in geography, race, and gender. In those days, we were in the early stages of establishing new projects around Africa, Mozambique, and the Middle East, Qatar, and were about to enter the employment phase of those operations. We wanted our employee value proposition in any given market to attract the right people who could bolster our brand. A reputation as a company with issues around diversity and where people of color felt excluded was not going to draw progressive talent. In other words, our successful growth and expansion relied in part on nurturing a diverse and inclusive culture. Our next step was to create that culture. Culture change starts with identifying the paradigm shifts that need to take place within an organization, and then taking big symbolic actions that convey and transmit those shifts to the company. The term symbolic should not be confused with meaningless or empty. It refers rather to actions that intentionally make a big and visible public statement. The first paradigm shift we wanted to make clear at Sasol was around the face of leadership. And the first symbolic action here was my appointment as a Black African woman in an executive director role. I was parachuted down into the midst of a white Afrikaner male-dominated management committee. Neither an engineer nor scientist, and quite frankly, with little knowledge of the business or organization. What I did bring, however, was my unique perspective gleaned from 15 years of experience implementing new systems, integrating brands, and working for culture change and business transformation at the BMF, Woolworths, and Nedbank. Appointing a single Black person to the ExCom obviously was not enough. However, and Pat and Trevor agreed that within 6 months, Sasol would hire additional Black executives to the organization's top ranks. Thus, 5 months later, Christine Ramon, one of the youngest CFOs on a JSE-listed company, became Sasol's first Black CFO. And soon after, Benny Mukaba from Shell SA joined us as Executive Director for Mining and Energy Operations. The conscious recruitment of Black people for senior leadership positions shifted the Sasol paradigm that had said getting to the top of this organization means being male, white, preferably Afrikaans, and an engineer or scientist. With only 4 executive directors at the time, Sasol had within 12 months boldly transformed the face of its exco from being 100% white male to 75% black and 50% female. With these changes in place, Trevor Monday retired. 2 additional symbolic actions were announced within the first year. The first was around the long-standing tradition that the CEO would become chairman of the board upon retirement. Pat announced his intention to forego that tradition. He was set to retire in 2010, explaining that instead he would ask the board to appoint someone who better reflected our transformation agenda. Hixonia Nyasulu was appointed. She would serve as the first woman and black chairperson of Sasol. The second announcement heralded a paradigm shift around ownership, with plans to sell 10% of the company to as many black shareholders as possible. Sasol's board had committed to becoming the first major South African company to transfer ownership under BEE at such a scale, with an equity stake value of 26 billion rand. After paradigm shifts and symbolic actions comes the nitty-gritty of embedding culture change throughout the organization. Although culture change is something that has to work at every level, it rests on tenacious leadership, and so here we are, focused on the next layer on top, key management. Working with the top 2,500 people across our organization of 35,000 employees, we launched Project Enterprise, a values-driven leadership program, the primary intent of which was to shift the company's culture. These days, values-driven leadership is a buzzword phrase, but back then, it was not so well embraced. Our first task was then to define values-driven leadership. What did it mean, and how could we get our top layer of leadership to buy into it?
There was another episode of the book Boardroom Dancing by Nolita Fakude, read by Vuyokazi Tebe. The book is available online and in all leading bookstores countrywide. It is broadcast on SAFM at 11:45 Monday to Thursdays on The Talking Point. The book is produced for the station by Vovi Patala, read by Vuyokazi Tebe. Technical production, Wiseman Manwele, Nanda Koza, and Tato Mapuru.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide.
It's 2 minutes after 12 on Monday, the 16th of January, February 2026. A very warm welcome to Update at Noon here on SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. My name is Bonge Wazwane, standing in for Sakina Kamwendo, coming up this hour.
Now, Ms. Mpela, Mr. Machidi, Mr. Mushwana, this matter is postponed for bail investigations.
The 3 people accused of the murder of an e-hailing driver have abandoned their bail application in the Pretoria Magistrates Court. Leaders and ministers from more than 120 countries have wrapped up their 3 days of discussions at the Munich Security Conference in Germany. And of course, remember, you can share your views on any of our stories. 41391, this SMS line. SMS are charged at 150. Call us 086 0002032. Send us, of course, your voice notes as well on 082-692-3909. We'll take all of these and more, but first, Ondelambana is on standby with the latest news.
Thank you, Bongi. On the top stories, e-hailing driver murder case postponed to Monday and witness F's testimony moved to March in the Madlanga Commission. For SAFM News, I am Ondelambana and a very good day. The case against 3 people accused of murdering an e-hailing driver in Pretoria has been postponed to next Monday for further investigations in the Pretoria Magistrates Court. The accused, including a woman, face charges of carjacking and murder. They are alleged to have killed the driver after he responded to a trip request in Pretoria West before his body and hijacked vehicle were found in Atteridgeville. Police confirmed that investigations are continuing as authorities search for a 4th suspect believed to be linked to the killing. Magistrate Christopher Chokwe ordered that the case be postponed. The Road Accident Fund says the Pretoria High Court was wrong in its judgment to allow undocumented foreign nationals to claim from the fund. Advocate Kennedy Tsatsawani has told the Supreme Court of Appeal that the judgment contradicts South Africa's Immigration Act, which does not allow anyone to enter the country illegally. He says the amendments made on the form to establish the accident victim's location during the crash following a ministerial directive in 2022 are just.
Firstly, the accident must have happened inside the Republic. And the only way in which the fund will know whether or not the person claiming, if they are a foreigner, were inside the Republic is to ask for this information that must now be provided in the form. Because unless you ask, were you in the Republic, you will never know that this person was inside the Republic. So you must ask. And how do you prove that? You produce a copy of your passport that shows you entered the Republic on this particular date.
The Madlanga Commission will resume with hearings on Wednesday after a witness known as Witness F was hospitalized. Witness F has linked suspended National Deputy Police Commissioner General Shadrack Sibia with attempted murder accused of Usumuzi Ket Matlala. During his previous testimony, he was scheduled to testify today and tomorrow. His testimony has been moved to the 16th of March. Evidence leader Matthew Chaskelson presented an application for postponement before the Commission.
Witness F has been hospitalized and is not available today. There is an application for postponement. The medical certificate on the last page of that application, Annex I-2, records that Witness F will not be available at least until 25th February. We have looked at our calendar, and the earliest available date that we have